The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland, which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine,
local Syrians mourn the loss of those killed in Eastern Ghouta.
Hundreds rally for a murdered Indigenous girl.
And the Talking Stick Festival brings First Nations communities together. Hello and welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Nicholas Cavallo.
And I'm Vanessa Doban, and today we're broadcasting from the BCIT Student Association building in celebration of Anti-Bullying Day. Hundreds of students gathered together to participate in a flash mob for Anti-Bullying Day. The students joined forces on the snowy field of North Delta Secondary School to create a sea of pink. Together, they danced to Michael Jackson and Bollywood songs to show solidarity and a symbolic promise to stand up against bullying. BC Lions running back Tyler Davis led the dance mob. A warning that our next story contains graphic content. Dozens across Vancouver gathered to mourn the loss of those killed in Syria this week. Tiffany Goodwin has the story.
This is every day in Eastern Ghouta. A young baby near death, trapped in rubble. The death toll in the region now stands at 500. Many of the deceased, young children.
Horrible. Sometimes I just turn off the TV because I cannot watch this. It's killing my heart.
Syrians from across Vancouver joined in unity to mourn the hundreds of lives lost, with candles lining the pavement urging the UN and government leaders to save Syria.
My sister died in the war in Syria, so I know what does it mean to lose one member of your family, and you are hopeless, you are not able to help them. I know what does it mean to see someone who's just dying in front of you and you can't do anything. It hurts so much.
The United Nations agreed to a 30-day ceasefire in Eastern Ghouta, but what was supposed to bring relief only ended in more deaths, with reports of civilians being struck with chlorine gas by Syrian warplanes that are backed by the Russian government. Still, even with voices in unity in the face of genocide, ignorance prevails.
This is a vigil for children and innocent civilians being killed, and you want to turn it into a hate rally? How dare you!
Your people are great, noble people doing what they're doing.
A group of people asking for just one thing: peace in a region riddled with terror. Tiffany Goodwin in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
We're joined now by reporter Tiffany Goodwin. Tiffany, what exactly were the people at the vigil demanding from the government?
So the people I spoke to said they want the Canadian government to act, and they want the Canadian government to pressure the UN to stop the bombardment and allow the evacuation of 765 medical evacuees.
Any word on how the Canadian government has responded to this?
Right, so Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland did issue a statement calling for the immediate implementation of the ceasefire agreement. She also said that she's disappointed that the ceasefire agreement has been violated less than 2 days from being implemented. Back to you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Hundreds took to the streets on the weekend to protest the acquittal of Tina Fontaine's accused murderer. My co-anchor Vanessa Doban has more on the story.
Just 2 weeks after the not guilty verdict in the controversial Colton Boushie case, protesters gathered together in front of the CBC and marched the streets of Vancouver holding signs once again. this time demanding justice for Tina Fontaine.
Tina is every First Nations woman I know. Tina is, for the most part, she's a sad statistic to a lot of Canadians.
Tina Fontaine was 15 years old when she moved to Winnipeg in June 2014 to be closer to her birth mother. Just 6 weeks later, her body was pulled from the Red River wrapped in a duvet cover. This week, her accused killer, Raymond Cormier, was found not guilty of second-degree murder, and the protesters behind me are here demanding justice for Tina and other missing and murdered Indigenous women. Audrey Siegel related to Tina's murder in a more personal way.
Why didn't I have babies? I'm 44 years old. Why don't I have kids? The only way to keep my kids safe was to not have them.
And she chose to speak up about it to the crowd.
When this starts happening to the white women, something will be done. And the truth is, I don't want that to happen to you. I don't want you to know what it feels like to be me.
Carrying signs, singing songs, and marching down West Georgia Street, a group of protesters stopped traffic to make sure they would no longer be silenced.
These streets will bellow with our voices!
For Siegel, her personal experiences continue to motivate her to come out and lift her voice for others.
I don't want you to see what happened to Tina and feel it in your heart because you know it could have been you.
Siegel says she hopes one day marches like these will not be necessary. Vanessa Doban in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine. Dancers spent hours in traditional First Nations clothing as they swayed to the beat of live drumming. Miranda Fatur reports.
Powwow dancers joined together during the Talking Stick Festival, an annual event showcasing Indigenous culture. As a residential school survivor, Kat Norris says she never imagined she could organize the powwow.
Because I've gone through my healing, it's my duty to, help my people and see our beauty and see our pride and be someone who has a voice.
One powwow dancer says she participates to prove that her culture continues to evolve.
We adapt, we create, we go further. We're not stagnant. We're not stuck in time. And even though there is racism in our justice system and there's hardships and a bunch of BS policies, we're showing that we're thriving culturally and that those policies that were created to take away the culture and the language, they were not successful.
The powwow is all about helping the urban community come together. But despite the size, connecting with culture is still a challenge.
A long time ago, our families used to organize events so that the young people could get together, the kids could get together and get to know each other. And oftentimes, over time, young people getting to know each other, families getting to know them. And that's part of how relationships were formed and friendships were formed. But we don't have that opportunity today because in the city, we live so far apart, even if we live next door to each other.
Through organizing the event, Norris hopes young people in the city can continue to experience Aboriginal culture. Miranda Fatur in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Activists were outside TD Bank in Vancouver protesting its financial involvement in the Kinder Morgan pipeline expansion. Cheyenne Burkhan-Hanahowen has more on the story.
Pipelines! You say no way! Pipelines! No way! Pipelines! No!
Protesters with climate convergence were in Vancouver rallying outside a TD Bank branch at the corner of Broadway and Willow. Protesters are determined to push TD Bank to divest from the Kinder Morgan Trans Mountain expansion.
As a bank, they have a really beautiful corporate statement about protecting the environment and sustainability, yet they are the biggest investor in the Kinder Morgan pipeline expansion project.
In an email statement, TD Bank says, "We understand and appreciate the diverse views Canadians have about energy development
and are participating in the discussion because it is an important dialogue that affects Canada's future. TD is also aware that Canadians will rely on conventional energy sources for several more decades to sustain our economy. Protesters feel TD's message is hypocritical.
Just to try and pretend that these two things can coexist, that you can fund a tar sand pipeline and still have a corporate statement saying you value sustainability.
While the construction of the pipeline is on hold due to court challenges and government squabbling, protesters will continue to fight. On this day, they were joined by the voice of a Green Party city councillor.
For me, it's a line in the sand. I will put effort in every day if I can to make sure that we move away from fossil fuels.
Ciara in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
The Abbotsford Police are turning 2 parking spots in front of their headquarters into a place where people can buy, sell, or exchange things from Craigslist or Kijiji. The department says they want to provide a safe place for people to meet when buying things online. Still to come on BCIT Magazine.
Competitive gamers convene at a local tournament in Richmond.
Comic book collectors come together.
And the BCSPCA raises money for animals through cupcakes.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Welcome back to BCIT Magazine. Competitive video gamers spent countless hours trying to become an elite player. My co-anchor Nicholas Cavallo reports.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime!
In a fight for the top, it takes a lot more than just practice to be the best. Vancouver Street Battle in Richmond is an esports gaming lounge that hosts fighting game tournaments. Skullgirls is a game that may seem like a cute cartoon-styled game, but it's actually a time-consuming mind battle. The second best Skullgirls player in Canada has spent more than 1,000 hours playing and has to memorize more than 30 movement and button combinations to deal full damage on his opponent.
You get used to where all the buttons are, you get used to it's muscle memory, basically. And eventually, once you get over that hurdle of there's so many things I have to learn, once you memorize it all, it just feels natural. You don't have to pay attention to your stick. What buttons am I pressing right now? And so when you get used to everything, it's like riding a bike almost.
Even though every match is a one-on-one, the game's community needs to work together in order for players to overcome their problems and improve their skills.
I guess I dedicated a lot of time because, I don't know, it's fun. These are fun people for the most part. There's a lot of really great people in the community who are really passionate about what they do. They really know how to have fun together, and we all just get to play video games and learn and grow together. And I don't know, it's a lot of fun to me.
Last year, these two players tied for 9th at a major event called Northwest Majors in Seattle. Their rivalry will continue on later this year. Nicholas Cavallo in Richmond for BCIT Magazine. The annual Comic and Toy Show brought in over 170 vendors to BC. Celina Howe tells us how comic enthusiasts come from more than just the collectibles.
Whether or not they're in disguise, comic collectors, sellers, and enthusiasts gathered together at Vancouver's Comic and Toy Show. Everyone has their own unique reasons for coming.
I do it because of the quality of the comic. I want a beautiful comic that's been old, and it's been well treated, maybe read once and then put away. Those are the ultimate finds for me.
I was born in Holland, and when I came to Canada, I didn't have any English, and I'd read comics in Dutch over there, and that's how I learned English over here.
Despite their individual stories, everyone comes for the community.
I just kind of like the ability to be around people that I guess are like-minded, people that also, like all things like collectible and nerdy. And also it's a good opportunity to find stuff,
So as you can see, right behind me, there's a major lineup that actually stretches all the way around the block. Proves just how big comic enthusiasts are in Vancouver. Since the event started 6 years ago, the community turnout has tripled in size. Celina Howe in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Our reporter Celina Howe joins us now from the Croatian Cultural Center. Celina, were there any special guests or performers at the event?
So yes, there are major comic book artists who attended, such as Steven Sadowski, who's known for drawing for Black Panther, as well as Diana Greenall, who's drawn for X-Men and for Deadpool and more.
Nice. Did the convention do anything to give back to the community?
So the convention has partnered with a food bank to collect non-perishable food items to give back to the whole community as well. Back to you.
Thanks, Celina. Millions of dollars were raised for the SPCA through Cupcakes. Last weekend, the Surrey branch offered Cupcakes to do its part in supporting its furry friends. Cheyenne Brichenhenahowen reports.
The Mad Hatter, Alice, the Cheshire Cat, and even the Queen of Hearts were in attendance at the Surrey SPCA's tea party. Cupcakes, cats, and coloring were all available to celebrate National Cupcake Day and to raise funds for the BC SPCA.
All the donations that we collect here today will be going to help support our initiatives at the BC SPCA.
Some came for the cake, others to color, and some just wanted to cuddle.
I really want other cats to come out.
But the main aim is to educate the community.
I think National Cupcake Day is a great event to host for people because you get to eat cupcakes and do all those other things while looking at the animals and donating and learning about what you're donating for.
To date, the BC SPCA has raised over $2 million through National Cupcake Day fundraisers. It cost $568 to care for a shelter animal. Over 4,000 animals are helped this way. Although these fundraisers help, some think more can be done.
Surrey has been a responsible community, but I think we need to, as a society, we need to be out there more in the community to let more and more people know what's going on and what we have available and how they can help.
For now, National Cupcake Day is a way to educate the community, while scrumptious treats are enjoyed by people and animals alike. Cheyenne Brichenhenahowen in Surrey for BCIT Magazine.
A hot cup of coffee is something most of us need to wake up every morning. But do you know how to make a cup the way the pros do? Our producer Ciara Yaschuk met with a local barista champion to show you how.
All right, we're here at 49th Parallel on Main Street here in Vancouver. We've got Kyle Straw with us. He's the coffee educator here. And he's going to show us how to make that perfect cup of coffee every single morning.
If you're going to make coffee at home, I think you want to invest in a nice grinder would be the #1 thing.
Okay.
There's fancy coffee machines out there, but this is really the thing.
Okay.
That's going to make the coffee taste good. So you can think of coffee as a fruit.
Okay.
It is a fruit.
It's a fruit?
It one time was a fruit. It's a seed of a fruit. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. So today we're going to be using the coffee from Ethiopia.
Okay.
I'm using that. Want to smell it?
It's a grapefruit.
Grapefruit. Take the bottom off.
Okay.
And then a little paper filter.
Cool.
And you screw it back on. Now, the filter sort of fits in there.
Yeah.
Now what I want to do is I just want to preheat it.
If you don't have a scale, use the teaspoons. Smells unbelievable.
It does smell pretty good. So I'll just shake it, make sure that it's...
Okay.
And what's nice about this is there'll be a little marker that'll show us where that is. A little bit of a stir.
So for people in a rush every morning, this is an ideal.
Yeah, and it's like a workout for one of your arms. Leave a little bit in the bottom, because that's kind of bitter.
Okay.
And there we go.
And voila, that's how it's done. Perfect. Can I try it?
Yes. I don't know if it's going to be interesting.
It's actually very good.
Okay.
It's strong.
Is it?
Yeah, that'll get you going in the morning.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine.
Brazilians in Vancouver celebrate their culture.
And a dog run gets snowed out.
The most rewarding thing for me has been the relationships I developed in the program, both with instructors and classmates.
My sense of confidence has never been higher. I mean, this program's offered great opportunities to be in real world, real industry situations, and being in those moments and knowing I can contribute, I can do this.
It's exciting to be in this industry and to meet lots of great people and to make amazing friends.
BCIT broadcast and online journalism, realizing your potential.
Journalism's changed a lot in the last 20 years, and BCIT's been at the forefront of that evolution.
Those are your news updates for Evolution 1079 News.
Now it seems like the industry is changing by the minute, so now, more than ever, we're taught how to adapt.
The federal government unveiled a new immigration plan that would... When I first started at BCIT, there was only one thing that I really wanted to do in journalism, and this program really opened my eyes to all the avenues of employment. And now I feel really confident that I have the skills to get hired.
From day one, you're out there chasing down stories.
You aren't just sitting in a classroom reading about journalism, you are a journalist.
BCIT Newsroom. I look back at the work I was doing even 3 months ago, and it's just amazing to see how far you can come in such a little bit of time. This program really teaches you skills and techniques to learn how to better communicate.
Jamie Dodd in Vancouver.
In New Westminster.
In Burnaby.
For BCIT Magazine.
3, 2, 1, let's drop this mixtape.
I've been moving calm, no start, no trouble with me. Trying to keep it peaceful, meet me at the east side, flea. It's held every weekend on Main Street.
Don't pull up at 6 a.m. to cuddle with me. I'll be checking out bikes down at 10:53. And yes, I'm talking about the convention center. The cyclists want to talk to me, be my mentor.
I think you could do that one better. Run that track back.
She said, do you love me? I tell her only partly. I only love my bed and my mama. I'm sorry. The Canucks play the Islanders on Wednesday. Catch me in my Rari.
Great recording session.
It was.
That's BCIT's plan.
BCIT's plan.
Despite the snowy weather, the Brazilian community in Vancouver found reason to still celebrate Carnival. Celina Howe has more on the story.
Singers, dancers, and performers all gathered together for one night of Brazilian partying. As a photographer, Jose Campos understands why the community values the memories of the night.
I think it's the most important thing to capture how happy they are here. So it's most important for us to share to our community.
Carnival in Brazil dates back to the 1700s. Today, Carnival is Brazil's biggest street party with costumes, floats, and performances. Andrea Monteiro organizes Vancouver's 6th Carnival to represent Brazilian culture in Canada.
It's to be outside of your own country and miss your family and miss your culture and miss the people from Brazil. So having the parties, I just feel like it's bringing people together, just bringing the community together and just making you miss your family less.
Although Andrea has only lived in Vancouver for 9 years, it's already become her new home.
And I love Vancouver, so for me, I wanted to be here, but I also wanted to be close to my family, my roots, and that's why I'm sharing the love and sharing the culture.
Andrea's love of her both homes is also shared with the rest of the Brazilian community for one night of the year. Celina Howe in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
The BC Guide Dogs annual run this week was hit by 20 centimeters of snow. Miranda Fatur reports.
Running, walking, and barking were all expected at the Run Go Dash for Dogs this year. But what wasn't anticipated was the snowfall the night before. While Vancouver parks deemed it unsafe to hold the event on snowy trails, racers still arrived to do independent runs, let their pups socialize, and experience what it's like to need a guide dog.
We've got our blindfold course set up today, so everybody's able to go and have a go on the blindfold course and just get an idea. It's a little bit artificial, but it gives them a little idea about what it feels like to hold the handle and actually follow a guide dog. So it really gives you an experience of working with a guide dog. It does give you an idea of how much trust you have to put in the dog and learn to follow the dog and so forth.
And trust is exactly what visitors had to have on the snowy ground once they got blindfolded and handed the leash.
I absolutely trusted the dog. I'm not sure I trusted myself. I felt like I was going to fall, but I trusted the dog would keep me safe.
It felt super fast walking with the dog, but now that I watch people going, they look like they're dawdling really slowly.
The organization shares why guide dogs are so important.
Whenever you want to leave home or go out with your friends and hang out, you get your guide dog, put the harness on, and off you go, and you can go wherever you want to go with your dog. It's a fabulous freedom.
The process of raising and training one of these dogs can cost up to $35,000 and takes around 2 years. Miranda Fatur in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitbroadcastnews.ca.
Thanks for watching BCIT Magazine. I'm Vanessa Doban.
And I'm Nick Cavallo. We leave you now with another look at the flash mob for anti-bullying at the North Delta Secondary School.